Hi friend, it's Pat Sloan here for the daily video on Tuesday, August 18th. And before we start, I have a question about calendars because I'm thinking about the September calendar, what'll be on it. And I thought I might give you a different presentation piece on it. I'm not sure because that's more work. I have to cross check and be sure I give it right, but thought I'd ask anyways because it's on the top of my head because it's something I use. So this is a regular calendar which has a place where you can make notes, and then I've got all of the items, the what might be going on that day, and then the video, whether there's a video, but whatever. Okay, so this is a calendar I use, or a chart. It's like a schedule. This is a schedule I use, and it's basically the sew-alongs. So this is, for me, what's going on that I know about. And when there's two things in a day, that's generally, for me, because it's a schedule, it means this one's running, then when it ends, that next one's going to run. And I don't know whether something like this is useful for you, because I could copy and paste it over to here. The problem is space. So either this calendar would be smaller or it would go to 2 pages, and I would just stick it on the second page, and then you'd be able to write more notes on the second page if you're keeping notes for yourself on what you're working on. So I don't know if a what's going on by day is helpful for you at all. You might just find that bottom part is just fine. Whoops. If this is just fine, then I can do less work. Less work's always good. and this one is really what I use so that I can glance up there and say, okay, this is coming up. I got to go get that article out for that. So today, speaking of today and our topic, it is the library. So what do you call your book collection? Of course, you call it the library, right? I always had this vision, and I don't think it will ever actually happen, but I always had a vision of having a little library. I actually have kind of a little library nook going on in my living room. I have a skinny bookcase over near the couch right now that has about a third of my quilt books on it. But I always envisioned a regular library with one whole, maybe 2 walls and big comfy chairs. And I've actually been trying to convince my dad over the years to do that because he has mega amount of books, and he has one extra bedroom down off his office area at his house that would be, they're not using this extra bedroom, and the office is in a walkout basement, so they're not using the extra bedroom anymore. So I thought, Dad, you could just make that into a library. You could be a big comfy chair in there, but he hasn't done it. I have this whole vision of a library. So tell me about where you keep your books. That's what I'm kind of all about today, is knowing where your books are, how you are, enjoying them. Do you line them up? Do you have one book? Do you have like a coffee tables everywhere stacked with books? And it doesn't have to be, tell me about, it can be about your non-quilt books too. A lot of people who have quilt books have other kinds of books. You might have another reader in your family, and you might actually be working on that library space in your home. We had a bed way back when that had like a bookcase in the headboard. So that was kind of neat because both of us used to read at night a lot. I don't read at night before I go to sleep anymore, rarely. Occasionally I do, but rarely. Greg still does. But for me, my brain just will click into that, and 1 won't go to sleep, or 2 will dream about whatever is in the book, which sometimes not so good. It makes your brain go like, you feel like you never slept. All you did was like keep being in the story all night long. My brain's very active. Okay, so that's your topic of the day. What does your library look like? Pictures are good. If you have a picture of where your books are, I will take a picture of my book nook and put it out on the Facebook so you can see it. If I were a bit more mobile, I thought to myself, oh, today would have been a good day to like do a camera video, like, on my phone, so I could have gone in there. Except for my dining room is like the overflow at the moment because I can't deal with things, so it's all stacking up in the dining room. Okay, but I digress. Let's go on to socialites. That is our other main topic for today. I got an email from the Fat Quarter Shop the other day. They are running a sew along with that is all set up, and now they're asking additional designers if we might want to sew along with them. So they have a whole big group of people, 36 of my friends who design blocks for and with the Fat Quarter Shop, and it's called the Socialites. And the neat, fun part about this is that Kimberly Jolly of the Fat Quarter Shop, they designed, or they asked everybody to design the blocks as 9-inch blocks, 6-inch blocks, and 3-inch blocks. Those babies are tiny, 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 tiny. They must be darling. Remember when we talked about minis, when I had the question about what's a mini? A 3-inch block is a mini. So that is going in a mini quilt. So I want to show you a picture so you can get an idea. It's 36 blocks, and it goes from September 25th to June 25th. On Fridays, a block every Friday. So this is the layout, and what they did is they recolored this for my Morrison Park so that I could sew along in my Morrison Park fabric. If you're doing 9-inch blocks, if you go to my website, it tells you the size quilts, but roughly the 9-inch blocks creates like an 80 by 80, which would, with a border on it, doesn't show a border here, but if I put a border on it, that would be a great bed quilt. Then there's the 6-inch blocks make like, you know, what is it, like 50 something by 50, 52 by 52, something like that. And then the little 3-inch ones, the minis, is much smaller. I forget the size. There's also a chart to tell you if you like thangles. You could make it with thangles. It's just sort of a fun thing. So I had to mull this over, okay, because of this. Yes, I already have things going on, but I had to mull it over, and I thought, you know what, this would be so fun to do as a community project with all of my friends, because all of them will be sewing along, and I'd like to go and see what they're doing, and just the fact that I don't have to design anything, I just have to make it, you know. It's like, I think that sounds like a really fun, relaxing thing. Now, I am the eternal optimist, so I am sure that by September 25th, like at least a few days prior, I will be able to make the first block. I think these will hopefully work. I don't have to cut with scissors to each square out and each triangle out, but if I do, I do. But I'm hoping I get a little bit of mobility within the next, you know, that's almost 5 weeks from now. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. So Morrison Park now is I'm going to show you here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'll also link you over to a page with it so you can see. But I've gotten a little waylaid with things with having my mobility crappy. But there it is. There's some of the colors. There's blues, reds, there's some pinks, greens, and there's one gold. So I couldn't drag all those over here. They were actually quite heavy. I had to get them under my arm and sort of drag them across the room because I can't lift them. So it's like dragging like this, like putting it in the crook of my arm and dragging it across the room. That was all I managed. I'm like, okay, I'm done. And it's like, I can't lift them up here. So there they are. But the Morrison Park fabric is going to be out in your stores in late September, early October. So I have it, of course, to make my blocks ahead of time if I was able to. And it might be, who knows? So, but I think it'd be really fun to do it in my fabric. It's a really neat sampler. I'm toying with the 6-inch. But when you go to my website today, you will see a video that Kimberly Jolly did where she shows you the 3, the 6, and the 9-inch blocks. Now, I'll just show you an example here of a 12-inch and a 6-inch because I happen to have it here. Okay, so here is one of my stars. That's a 12-inch block, right? Move this stuff out of the way. Okay, so this is a 12-inch block. And you know, you're used to working with a lot of those. I do a lot of 12-inch blocks because, one, they use up your fabric and they use up your scraps, and they make a bigger quilt faster. But here is one of my Splendid sampler blocks that is 6 inches. So there you can see that the 6-inch is quite a bit smaller. If we're talking about just looking at like the half square triangles there, there's a half square triangle that's done in the 12-inch, and here's one that's done in the 6-inch. 3 inches would be half of this. You know, that would be, that whole basket would then be made like into that, like crazy, right? So tiny, tiny. I can't even imagine. But I'm gonna have to try one. Once I get better mobility, I will have to try one of the easy ones as a 3-inch. I don't know, I've done 5-inch blocks because the Dear Janes are 5, but I don't know that I've done a 3-inch. 6 is enough when they get, so you have to get sort of, 6 isn't bad because you get in a mode. The one thing about the blocks here for the Socialites is that they are not easy blocks. Many of these blocks are have a lot of parts. a lot of parts. So if you are in a 6-inch block, you're going to need to take your time to starch. I think it's perfect for those of you looking for a bit of a challenge. Good way to say it, right? So if you are looking for a bit of a challenge, you might want to be sewing 6-inch Socialites. They make a nice wall hanging. Even if you want to put like a, you can get into a lap size, I think, you know, a nice lap size, not super big, but a normal size, by putting like a border on top and bottom, and maybe making another round of half square triangles or something. You know, it'd be easy to do with the 6-inchers. I also link you over to another friend of mine, Melissa Corey. She was also invited to sew along after it was all set up like I was. So Melissa has designed a slightly different layout. And so if you like her layout, it's a little bit different than this one. Not a ton, but a little bit different. She sort of rotated some of these outer points so they make a whole different effect, which is neat. So that is new to be thinking about. The Fat Quarter Shop colored up, besides my Morrison Park. Did you note there's going to be like a little sewing machine block? Look at that. But they also did 4 other fabric lines, and so I've got those in there so you can see the colorations. All the fabrics are like mine. They're not in yet. They'll be coming in the next few weeks. So if you have scraps, this would be amazing scrappy. I think it would be super fabulous. You would totally be able to use your scraps. Just download the supply list, get the backgrounds, and plus you need extra fabric for these points. But if you're going scrappy, you don't need to figure those out till later. They're like 8-inch or 10-inch squares depending on what size you're working with. So you don't need to really decide that up ahead. You can get it later on because this is running for 36 weeks. So it's a long sew along. So it is, I think that's what also appealed to me, because if you miss a week, you can catch up. It's like, it's kind of got a long life. Although my philosophy of missing a week, if you want to know, you miss a week, get back on track with the current block. Then go do what you missed, because it's a mental game. It's a mental game. If you are like constantly just doing the past ones, you're never getting to the current one. If you do the current one and the one just before it, then if you still have maybe one prior back there, you'll get to it eventually. Or you could substitute something easier if you skipped it because it was hard. That's the nice thing about a sampler, is that if a block seems a bit above your skill set, you're like, I don't really want, you could just substitute, make another one from here, find another 9-inch block or 6-inch block. It's easy to do a substitution in a sampler. The other cool thing is that all of these blocks, you'll see on that video on my link below to my website, that they did all the blocks as just 2 pieces of fabric. So if you see the block that's green, it'll be done with the green in the background, the blue in the background, the red in the background. So there won't be, it's not, the blocks aren't done with a bunch of different colors, which is kind of fun. I mean, if you've never worked like that, that's another sort of added new thing you could try, because the whole quilt will then have this sort of color blocking effect. Okay, So I did just show you this star, which is the last star for my scrappy little wishes. So it's the last star, which means I can really comfortably get all of the at least the middle done, and see how far I go. You know, my sashings are cut by my friend, so now I'm good. So I'm just basically cutting off edges of sashing with my scissors, so that's really simple. All the cornerstones are done. It's really just sort of dragging these bigger lengths now once I get to that point and sort of, you know, getting them assembled. I am going to do some chunks down here with these units, since I switched over to doing a top and a side sashing on each block, so that should help a little bit. Okay. One more thing before we go is that these came in, and I have to show you to you because they are so cute. Look, these little containers. I think people generally call them rotary cutter containers. I heart quilting, and so, you know, you can put in a rotary cutter, scissors. You could put in a little project. I could see, like, if you're doing hexies, you could put them in here, put them behind. I've got the I Love Quilting, and then there's a green one. Cut it out. I think my mother said that to me and my brothers. Cut it out. You guys, cut it out. But they're so cute. So these are brand new sort of little project boxes, rotary cutter scissor boxes for when you want to store that in a tote bag. Remember I was talking about keeping everything in a bag so that you can find by project? Those would be perfect for that. Okay, my friend, that's going to be it for today. Tell me about your library. I want to hear about it. And consider the Socialite with me. Maybe Socialites. Yes. I love you. See you online.